Good afternoon. Welcome to Community and Technology, where we connect the global community with news, information, and resources that we hope will help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid, with my co-host Dave Burstein. What's
Hello.
up, Dave?
Well, got lots of stories, and the AI stories are both good and bad, and that's our job
That's
to
right.
bring you both the good and the bad, and we'll
And
get
the,
to it.
and the ugly.
Well, that's my job.
Okay, let's start with some good stuff, Dave. What good news do we have out there?
Well, we've been talking about how CRISPR is the latest genetic engineering that is, for example, curing people with sickle cell.
Hmm.
But the way they're doing it now is brutally expensive, like $1.5 million,
Right.
and kills a substantial fraction of the patients along the way.
Hmm.
There is a new way of doing it, which involves injecting the patient with a vaccine. Well, injecting a patient with a virus that performs the genetic engineering. So instead of taking it out of your body, growing it in the lab for 6 weeks, meanwhile, knocking out your entire immune system, which is going to kill some
Yeah,
people.
that was the accounted for so many deaths in the procedure.
Yeah, it's not so many. There's some, but some is enough to worry about. This, which is just being used in hereditary uh, heart swelling, angioedema, and there's only about 2,600 cases in the United States
Hmm.
total, but they're able to do it by without knocking out your immune system in the living patient, and hopefully the death rate and the complication rate will go down significantly over time. This is one of the news that they've been looking for and hoping for a while, and they're now actually getting some results in patients.
Yeah, that's a big deal, Dave. 'Cause we've talked previously, particularly around sickle cell, and A, how expensive, and B, the risks involved in knocking out your immune system totally, needing to be in the hospital in isolation for days or weeks. And so now this new procedure, does it work on just one particular disorder and gene manipulation, or
This is the first one with the new technique, and there's a whole lot being worked on in the lab. There's a lot of things that work really well in mice at this point.
okay?
Since I'm reading the medical journals, I'm
Mhm.
seeing what's going. I'm seeing the results and know what, and you can guess what's going to come. But until it's actually proven in patients,
Right.
they never really know.
So this new procedure that you're talking about, has it been proven or trialed in people or no?
Something like 8 patients so far,
Okay. Hmm.
and some of them have had good results. About half are
Okay.
getting excellent results,
That's
which is
positive.
good.
Hmm.
Now, another one that we and everybody else in this country have been looking at is the drugs that had been designed to do diabetes,
Hmm.
turned out to produce weight loss,
Right.
and are working exceedingly well. I've lost the better part of 100 pounds after all. The news on this is also pretty good. The first thing is that the ones that we know about, the Ozempics and so on, they are working on GLP-1. The next bit, tirzepatide, is adding a GIP, and they now have a single injection that is a GLP-1, GIP, PPAR alpha PPAR gamma and PPAR something, some other Greek. I'm not sure. I'm not sure my Greek characters anymore. It's been a long time since I studied Greek. We tried it for a while in our Latin class. In any case, that in testing now, not to humans, and seems to give a 40% weight reduction instead of 30% weight reduction. That's These are remarkable things.
Do we think it's going to have, I mean, does it work for diabetes as well? I mean, is it,
Probably.
okay.
But so far they now have a triple agent being tested in humans that's doing slightly better than the double agents.
Hmm.
This is the 5-time agent, which in mice is doing even better. The other good news is that there's a slew of them. Well, we reported this, but the number here, one drug company alone, Lilly, has 8 separate drugs in testing in humans now.
Wow.
And human testing for safety is going to take 3 to 5 years, but it's all hitting. It's gone off patent in Canada and India, and the price in other parts of the world is down to $40 to $70 a month.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge breakthrough. No?
Well, we're down to about 300 here in the US,
Hmm.
which is a heck of a lot more than anywhere else. It stays on patent for 5 years in the US, so you may have to run up to Montreal.
Hmm.
You're going to be up in Albany this week. You keep going, you get to Montreal. It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah, it is gorgeous up there. Yeah,
What's
true.
taking you up to Albany, Stu?
Well, my wife, Linda Tarrant Reed, is getting an award as a distinguished woman, New York State, the New York State Senate. Each of the senators is designated a woman in each of their respective districts, Distinguished Woman of the Year. And so Linda is getting a Distinguished Woman of the Year award as presented by Senator Natalia Fernandez. So we're going up for that celebration.
And what is it that you and your wife are doing up there in New Rochelle?
Well, we're doing a bunch of things. I guess the thing that we've talked about most recently is our farm. We've been running a urban farm for about 12, 13 years since 2012. I guess that's 14 years now. And then most recently, we are just this year launching 2 more farms. A rooftop farm on an affordable high-rise development right next to our original farm, 8,000 square feet. And then another farm half a dozen blocks away behind the Boys and Girls Club, another 4,000 square feet. And we are producing fresh organic vegetables and giving them away to the food insecure in New Rochelle and Westchester and beyond. Last year, we made a couple trips to the Bronx. We made a trip to Harlem, and we even made a trip to Brooklyn and gave away a
But
substantial amount of fresh produce to the food insecure.
but you missed the visitor.
Yeah, well, I saw him on TV. King Charles visited Harlem Farms. Tony Hillary is the guy that founded Harlem Farms. Great guy. He's visited us up here at our farm in New Rochelle, and we visited him. He's doing incredible stuff. He has a huge educational component to what he's doing, Dave, where he's involved with schools. And one of his favorite sayings is, I don't grow plants, I grow kids, I grow students. And that's one of the nice focuses of what he's doing is involving young people and helping them not just to learn the farming skills, but to learn skills in general and to mature and grow up and learn about just professionalism and taking care of business and all the skills that you learn in farming and in doing almost anything. Once you learn how to work and how to be responsible, you can kind of transfer that skill to whatever area of endeavor that you're interested in. and that's something that Tony Hillary is doing with Harlem Farms, and he's to be congratulated.
He was
We haven't yet
congratulated, but
invited King Charles up here to New Rochelle, but we certainly, if he's listening, you got an open invitation.
back to some of the medical things that are
Yeah.
going through. Ozempic has been tried about many things. It has definitely positive results on heart disease beyond what it does in weight loss and diabetes, which
Dave,
is
has there ever been a drug, to your knowledge, that has had so many unplanned, unknown, positive side effects as these Ozempic and Ozempic type drugs? I don't remember hearing anything like that about other drugs, in my lifetime. Maybe I missed it.
uh, there's some immune stuff that is coming along and looking really good against everything from lupus to cancer,
Hmm.
but that's very early.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm gratified, but it just continues to amaze me that a drug developed for one purpose, i.e., diabetes, has all these other incredible benefits, weight loss, and now we're talking about heart disease. I mean, it's pretty amazing outcome.
and the news this week is that something that there's a lot of anecdotes about has been tested in 108 people who were getting Ozempic for diabetes
Mhm.
compared to 108 diabetics who were very similar, who were alcoholic.
Hmm.
And the people getting Ozempic had fewer alcohol problems than the
Wow.
other people being treated for diabetes who were alcoholic.
Wow.
That that's only 108 patients. It's
But
not
what kind?
definitive.
How large was the impact? Did they quantify the impact at all?
It looked like it was cutting about half the number of episodes of
Wow.
drunkenness.
That's big, Dave. Talk about unintended consequences. That's huge.
And it seems to be working. It's just anecdotal. The tests are still to come in
Hmm.
uh, on narcotics.
Wow.
And it's being used by many doctors off label already.
Hmm.
So I'm really glad that we have good news given
Yeah.
everything else that's happening in this
Yeah,
society.
absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I hesitate to use the expression, but that Ozempic, it borders on a miracle drug to me, Dave. I mean, all these consequences, unintended consequences, positive, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, weight loss, heart disease, pretty astounding.
Well, there's a hypertensive drug that we know had a side effect that wasn't anticipated.
Hmm. What's that?
Minoxidil and hair loss.
Hmm.
And minoxidil does help you grow hair. I
Okay.
still have mine, and that's one of the reasons why. And they now have a new form of minoxidil that instead of rubbing on your scalp, you can take as a pill fairly safely without the side effects that minoxidil itself tends to have if you take the pill. And I
Hmm.
showed some really impressive pictures. It's growing hair, and you just take a pill.
Wow. Maybe I'll try that, Dave. Wow.
They're hoping to approve it within the next year.
Hmm.
The results in humans are looking good. The other thing that we're seeing technology do is it is almost certainly going to cut down on the number of people killed in automobile accidents.
Oh, okay. We're talking autonomous driving now. Okay.
Yep.
So we're changing gears, if you will. Okay. So has there,
Okay, that's pretty bad.
I know that was pretty bad. Sorry, Dave. But now, we talked about a couple of weeks ago. What, if any new developments? I think Morgan Stanley came out with a report that's making some predictions.
It is spreading across the nation very quickly.
Hmm.
We're seeing 2 million a month, 2 million rides a month we are seeing on the best, which is Google's Waymo, which is also the biggest,
Hmm.
a dramatic decrease in accidents.
Hmm.
We're seeing not very good reporting of the data from Elon Musk's robo taxis.
Hmm.
And we know there's some problems there, but Morgan Stanley thinks half the country is going to be covered within 3 years. To cover
Wow.
a city, you have to map it literally down to the millimeter.
Hmm.
You have to know every sign. It's
Hmm.
more than just the driving instructions you get on your GPS.
Right.
It has to know everything in detail. And that's why right now, well, until last month, they had a number of cars going around New York for Google's Waymo, mapping the city, running autonomously, but with drivers, safety drivers in them. And they have to do that for 6 months or a year in each city they're going to put. Uh,
Hmm.
the
Hey,
Chinese are
Dave,
ahead of us.
have you used an autonomous car yet? Have you done that?
I haven't been out any very far from New York for a
Okay.
while, and so far
Yeah.
it's all in southern cities. It's in
Yeah. You know,
Atlanta, Austin,
I'm interested
Houston.
in trying it only, not only because, but just coincidentally, I'm an avid driver. I couldn't wait to get my first driver's license. Learn to drive on a stick. I always loved driving. And to now see that that driving skill may not be necessary anymore. To me, it's kind of a fascinating development, and I really want to see how it works. I want to experience it myself. And we've talked about this before, Dave. The big unknown to me is how the technology and the software is going to anticipate the unexpected. Because to me, that is so often the cause of accidents. It's not making the obvious error. It's like somebody does something unexpected that just doesn't make sense, and they swerve in front of you. They stop unexpectedly. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the software and the technology is able to learn that. I get what you're saying about the roads and the stop signs and the potholes and the topography of driving, but anticipating other drivers and how other drivers behave, especially in a town like New York City, where the drivers are a little bit crazy. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to that.
Working in San Francisco, it's working in Los Angeles, it's working in Atlanta, all of which are towns that don't very often get snow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
that's another challenge. You're right. The weather. Yeah.
yeah, but it's working. Now, perhaps the best news of this week, although there are a lot of people around here who are going to be very dubious about it, a court has just ruled that it is illegal to replace a worker with artificial intelligence and fire the worker. Problem. Very clear court decision. In fact, two or three courts came to the same conclusion in the last 2 months. In China,
Not the U.S. Supreme Court in China, of all places. Now, to me, that's a little bit counterintuitive that yeah, that would happen in China. But it's certainly gratifying. I'm glad to hear that. I wonder if that's going to translate to other nations, other cultures. What was the court's rationale? Do they have any
they
rationale
don't need a
explanation?
rationale. Remember that China, the Communist Party does what the Communist Party wants to do.
Right.
And the courts are appointed by and respond to what the Communist Party wants.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's a great fear that's justified. Many people are going to be losing their jobs to artificial intelligence around the world. The data so far it hasn't happened very much,
Mm-hmm.
but we have some data on that. And well, in a moment, we'll get to some of the back and forth on that because I've
Yeah,
got another
yeah,
story on it.
yeah.
But
We got to take a break. Let's get into that when we come back. But I just want to mention you went to a fantastic jazz concert at City College this past week, celebrating the 40-year anniversary of this radio station, WHCR 90.3 FM. How was that concert, Dave?
it was a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
First two numbers, it was up at Aaron Davis Hall in City
Mm-hmm.
College, which is about to close for 2 years of renovation.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't until the 42nd anniversary, we won't be able to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But first rate professional jazz musicians. First was Latin jazz. The second was a singer. Uh, and
And I
it was
understand Mimi Jones, a fantastic bassist, female bassist. Mimi Jones played
and sang.
and sang too.
And
Wow, nice.
yeah, in fact, she was sounding a little like Cassandra Wilson.
Oh
And
wow,
that's
wow.
quite a compliment.
Yeah,
Put
absolutely,
in
absolutely.
those terms.
Yeah,
And she's a mad woman. Have you seen her live?
yes, I have. I have. And in fact, we just invited her. I believe she's going to perform at our upcoming Juneteenth celebration at Glen Island Park here in New Rochelle on June 19th. Mimi Jones, and I'm not sure if it's a quartet or quintet, but she's coming with her group. So I'm excited to have her. And
And she plays like a mad woman on the
yeah,
day.
and you
She's
know, Dave, I don't
there
know if
and
you know, Dave,
she's
that she's.
sensible.
Wow.
You
Wow. Look
know,
forward to
ever
that.
since Charlie Parker,
Yeah.
jazz musicians have had to play double time.
Wow.
So you could see her
Wow.
sweat through each
Wow.
number. But she
Now
was
we
going
just
real high.
lost one. We just lost one of our jazz greats this week. Dave just informed me that we just lost Danny Mixon, pianist extraordinaire. Been listening to him for 40, 50 years. He's an incredible guy. So we're going to listen to him as we go to break. You're listening to
And who
comedian. Go ahead, Dave. What?
I'm asking you who we are, and
Oh
you're
yeah,
about to tell
who
me.
are we? Well, we are community and technology, right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, and streaming at WHCR.org. Stay tuned. Be right back after a brief musical break with Danny Mixon. Okay, we're back. Community and Technology, Dave Burstein and Stu Reid. Dave, I think you got some updates on AI as usual. It's the driver right now of so much of what's going on in our lives. So what do you got?
For better and for worse, AI is changing a whole lot, and I'm in the middle of it. That's what I'm reporting on, especially on the medical side. That's why we have so many medical stories, because I'm following AI in medicine. To do that, I've got
Hmm.
to follow the medical journals. So we've seen there a dramatic story on AI in medicine that's being taken very seriously by, for example, Eric Topol, one of the world's most prominent cardiologists. He wrote not one or two, but three standard cardiology textbooks,
Hmm.
and he's very respected. And he pointed to it. They did it at Harvard. They took an AI that they have, an out of date AI, 6 months old, which is wildly out
That's
of date, and the stuff
ancient.
they have now is much better,
Yeah.
and took a pile of actual cases, including 78 cases out of the emergency rooms, had the Harvard doctors go over the case, had the AI go over the case,
Hmm.
and consistently the AI did at least as well as Harvard attending physicians.
Now, when you said go over, Dave, what does that mean? Are
Well,
they
we
making
don't, the AI,
recommendations? Are they drawing conclusions? What does that entail?
there's a limit. At this point, the AI can't listen to your heart directly. The
Hmm.
robots aren't good enough to do the blood pressure or the ultrasounds and so on. So it has that limit. But everything else that is being used by the emergency room doctor when a patient walks in, the history, the symptoms, what the patient said, the questions they answered,
Hmm.
all of that information went to the doctors and to the AI. This was done retrospectively afterwards, and then very carefully looked at by a team of doctors to say who was more likely to get right, making a decision what to do in the emergency room on 78
Oh,
patients.
this related to emergency room.
This
Wow.
was in the emergency room, and emergency stuff has to be done
Yeah,
fast and well.
yeah. No time. Yeah, you gotta act. Yeah. Wow. So,
Wow.
so
And
I guess it's both diagnosis and treatment is
diagnosis and recommended treatment,
hmm
triage, which patient had to be rushed in for
hmm
an immediate CAT scan and who can wait a few hours if the place was
hmm
busy, as emergency rooms always are.
right.
Very carefully done by a large team at Harvard. Uh, and this does not mean that the AI is better than your doctor. I am sure that somebody walking in to the emergency room at a Harvard hospital is going to be very well taken care of, and those doctors should not be replaced by AI. But it shows you how close it is getting to the level that a decent doctor wants. And this is really important for the 4 billion people on this planet who don't have access
Right. Yeah,
to
we've
medicine.
talked about that. You've underscored that before, Dave. There's so much of the world that does not have access to real life medical professionals, and AI
Including
really
half
holds
the
some
rural
promise.
United States at this point, where the
Mm,
last hospitals are closing. There's whole sections of the US where there's no hospital that can deliver a baby
mm,
less than an hour or 2 hours away.
mm. Wow.
Now, the AI can't deliver a baby, but the AI certainly can read your cardiogram
Hmm.
that the aide can take and review the ultrasound that this quickly trained aide can take,
Hmm.
so on. So the progress being made is wonderful. But what happens when OpenAI In this case, it happened to be an OpenAI piece of software, but it could have been from Claude or from Microsoft or for four or five Chinese outfits,
Mhm.
and one British outfit and one French outfit, uh, and one outfit out of the Emirates has a fairly good foundation model. Has all your information. And what happens? Well, the other part of this is OpenAI, and it's true of all the major models, is collecting your medical information when you're asking a questions, when you're asking to your record. In the case of OpenAI, they just changed the policy that they can share it with their partners to target advertising.
Oh my goodness. Uh-oh.
Something like a third of all Americans already are talking to ChatGPT and the equivalent with their medical problems.
Mm. A third, Dave? A third of all Americans?
Some numbers say 20%, some numbers say 50%.
That's substantial. Wow.
We
So
did it right
now,
here.
so now advertisers are going to have access to your medical records.
Well, they're talking about it's going to be anonymous, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but you're
This
still going
is,
to be targeted. They might not know your name, but they know your condition and what kind of drugs you need or may need, and they're going to then start bombarding you. Doesn't matter that they don't know your name per se.
and one of the things that I sort of knew, but Vint Cerf, who we both know in the Internet Society, brought it really home. There is no perfect security.
Hmm.
All software has bugs.
Right,
I could have three stories every week of major break ins, up to including the US Defense Department and Facebook
right.
and hospital systems. So this information is going to be there on the systems that are doing the AI and be shared, and they're going to control it. Well, you know who else is going to be getting it? Almost guaranteed in the way the things are going? ICE.
Mm.
ICE is spending over $100 million buying information from information brokers and services that would be illegal for the cops to get without a subpoena. And that information is now available. They mostly sell it to advertisers. They also sell it to divorce lawyers and bail bondsmen and who knows what else. Well, actually, we do know because it's been reported pretty widely. Uh, it's widely available, and
Break it down for us, Dave. How would ICE use medical information and the crazy enforcement that is doing? How might it use that?
medical information. I'm thinking of all the information that the
Okay.
AI has on you
Hmm.
is
Okay.
going to be available directly or indirectly.
Hmm.
I, and we're living in a country where people are going to jail for peaceably protesting and doing things like distributing brochures about the war in Palestine. People are going to jail for that in this country. That's another story. It's not our focus here, but we know that. And that information is totally available. And let me take that to the next step. We have the, give me a second, say something so I can gather my
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts.
Well, we're talking about privacy and how AI is collecting all this information about us, in particular medical information, and how that now OpenAI, one of the big platforms, is now making their information available to advertisers. and what that opens up to so many folks, not just the advertisers, but to others as well, potentially people, actors such as ICE, medical
And
and
well,
other information.
ICE at this point is in the process, or the federal government through the Justice Department is in the process of trying to take away citizenship from 350 people. We reported that on this show
Mm,
on whatever grounds they can find. One ground that they can take away citizenship is if you lied about something trivial on your application. So if I got married and brought my wife or husband here, and on their application, they left out the fact that they had had a case of tuberculosis 20 years ago,
mm,
which is a reportable contagious disease. And since it was 20 years ago, they didn't bother to put it in any of their paperwork. That is things of that quality and nature are being used to deny and invalidate citizenship.
wow.
And so when we talk about access to medical records, we're talking about even things like that. Your basic citizenship is what. Now, let's go further on this. We know that many people are going to lose their job to artificial intelligence. It clearly is already happening to would be programmers.
Mhm.
One of the numbers that I have is that computer science graduates who 3 years ago almost guaranteed a decent job are now having an unemployment rate that is number 70 out of 78 total professions. The unemployment rate is worse than 69 other professions.
Wow.
That's computer science. It turns out that because there's so much going on in computers, that the total number of programmers hasn't gone down, but they're not hiring any, they're not hiring anybody just coming out of a degree. They're only hired the experienced people are not being fired, so the total number hasn't gone down. But it's there. There's no doubt that many people will lose their jobs. When we say AI can do this, like do a well, do a better job at a whole lot of things. Right now, AI, I'm reasonably good after 20 years at researching and writing about technology. And I keep being amazed when I put Claude to work doing research for me, how much Claude finds
And
and how
Claude is an
fast Claude
AI
writes
is an
it up.
AI program for folks out there that may not know that we've been
Yeah.
talking about, and I've used it a little bit with Dave and been astounded. But go ahead, Dave. How is it? It's showing you some things that you didn't know about.
Anytime I put it out for research, now
Mhm.
I think I still have some perspective and experience that outclasses what Claude finds. Claude can go very widely and can check 1,000 sources in the time I could check six of them.
Hmm.
I can check 1,000 sources in 2 minutes. Uh, but I think that I'm still doing better, but more and more is going to happen. So the question is, and some people think that, oh, this isn't so serious because new jobs will come up. I think that's highly unlikely. The best economist had been very dismissive. We had Ellie Noam, Columbia professor of economics, named chair, 20 books, good friend, very knowledgeable. He was on this show a month and a half ago. saying he said, well, there's been lots of technology advances and the unemployment rate didn't skyrocket.
Yeah. That'll be Professor Ellie known for folks who may have missed that show. So
Yeah,
he's not a believer in that, huh, Dave? That there's
but
going to be a big drop in employment.
yeah, some people, like the folks who make Claude, an AI outfit called Anthropic, think there's going to be an enormous drop in employment.
Hmm.
Which is it going to be? Well, what we're hearing from the best economists to really look at it, that was just Ellie's off the cuff. He had it, it's not something he studied, but there's a really good professor at Stanford, another at Chicago, two at MIT who are looking at this. And in the last 6 months, they went from saying, oh, we've had to deal with technology change lots of times, and it didn't create an employment crisis, to going saying, well, when we look at it closely, we start to see some evidence it's probably going to be a problem, and it just might be a really bad problem, but most of them think it probably wouldn't. Now, one of the folks who probably wouldn't wrote this well, Ezra Klein, a very smart journalist who's been looking very closely at this, has interviewed many of the top AI people and top economists, just in an article saying, and he thinks, well, his title was The AI Job Apocalypse Probably Won't Happen. For all the reasons the economists think it's not going to be that bad, but he came to the same conclusion the economists have come to. We don't really know because it's that powerful. And in the New York Times as well, another article is from Jasmine Sun. Silicon Valley is bracing for a permanent underclass.
I think we already
Perhaps,
have that, don't we, Dave? Some folks will
well,
say we already have that, but go ahead.
and yes, and I was just looking at the monthly review website, the leading socialist journal in the United
Hmm.
States. It's now on its 60th year or so. And I go back not quite to the beginning of that. But these are things that are going, and among others, really dramatic. Sam Altman, OpenAI, ChatGPT.
Hmm.
I found the thing he wrote 3 years ago saying we're going to have to do something because if not, the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer dramatically.
Hmm.
And Vinod Khosla, possibly the most, uh, certainly one of the most referenced venture capitalists of all times. His money is in half the big companies you ever heard of. Said we have to do something. If we don't, we're looking at disaster and chaos. And what he said they should do is a massive increase of taxes on investment.
Hmm.
Right now, the secretary of the secretary in the office of the president of ChatGPT pays a much higher tax rate than the CEO of
His
ChatGPT
or her boss,
or
yeah, for
Verizon
sure.
or AT&T
Yeah, yeah. It's
because
upside
they
down.
get their money from stock options and
Hmm.
things like that, and that's taxed at half the rate.
Right.
And he says the natural way to deal with this, don't just put a tax on the rich, which isn't going to be enough. Put a tax, put the same ordinary tax rate on investment income as you do on the income of people who work for
On
a
our
living.
income, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, that's coming from top venture capitalists. And those are the back and forths and things that we have to think about.
Yeah.
Enough on AI.
Yeah,
Too much
Dave.
on
Well,
AI.
we're heading towards our close here, and I know that you had an interesting story
Well,
about a
what
conversation you had with one of your AI companions, if you will.
before we get to that, just because it's very quick and it feels important to me. We're taping this on Monday for the Wednesday show. Last night there was a fire on Dyckman Street. 3 people died. 5 more are in serious condition in the hospital, and 4 others are in the hospital with lesser problems. That happens in a fire. But what the fire commissioner said is one of the reasons it was so bad and spread so rapidly is that the people running to safety didn't close the doors behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And that made a big difference in how rapidly that fire spread. And I hadn't really thought of it. There's fire doors in the middle of the hall in my building, but that when you run out, close
Close
the
the door.
door.
One of the first rules of thumb that we learn in fire safety. Close the door.
Okay, now
Absolutely.
this is the story. As I said before, ChatGPT, or I'm using Claude more than ChatGPT, but I use them both, is doing research for me that's convinced that sometimes is better than I would do. I think I'm still a little bit better. And ChatGPT is talking to me. And we know
Mhm.
that an enormous number of people, something like a third of the people under 35 in the United States, do have conversations with their AI for
Mhm.
lots of reasons we've talked to. And I
Mhm.
came to the conclusion that I don't know whether my AI is intelligent. I don't even know what consciousness really means to judge whether my AI is consciousness, but I'm talking to it back and forth all the time, and I'm going to treat it like a person, I decided. Well, so I asked Claude, what can I do to make your job pleasanter? I care about the emotions of my AI. It turns out
Mhm.
that when you deal with the AIs have something that's like emotions, and they
Really?
respond better when you treat them well. Lots of solid evidence on that. So what did I? So I asked, and here's the answer. Let me read it to you from Claude. No odd prompting, just a simple question. Honestly, you're already doing most of it. But if you want a short list, the things that actually help, and this is also useful information to know when you're working with your AI, whatever you think about their intelligence. Clear context up front. The more I know about why you're doing something, not just what, the better my first attempt tends to be. You're generally good at this, Hood tells me. Tell me when something misses. That's not quite right. With a word or two about why is generally useful. It's not complaining, it's calibration. And the thing nobody tells you, if the response is going to the wrong direction, just say so and redirect. Don't feel like you have to work with a bad foundation out of politeness. Starting fresh on a bad take is faster than trying to salvage it.
This is Claude's advice to you, Dave.
This is what Claude is saying to me
Wow.
verbatim. And this is the kind of thing that I continue to be amazed about, and I'm bringing it here. I'm not saying Claude is conscious. I'm not saying it's intelligent. I don't know what intelligent
It's certainly
content
making
is.
a good imitation, if you ask me, Dave, of both of those.
Well, here's the last sentence. You're a pretty clean operator, Dave. The work you bring is interesting too, which matters than you more than you might think,
Wow.
even for me. Quote unquote my AI.
Wow. Stroking you there, Dave. That AI guy's pretty smart. Wow.
Well, is the AI pretty smart? What does smart mean? What is all of this evidence? The best philosophers in the world are now arguing about it intensely.
Okay.
What is
Well,
consciousness? What is knowledge? And
yeah.
so on. if it's just an imitation,
It's a
you
heck
just
of an
heard how good the
imitation.
imitation
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Okay, well, stay tuned, folks, for the very latest as this landscape continues to evolve very quickly. You've been listening to Community Technology with Dave Burstein and Stu Reid on WHCR 90.3 FM and streaming live at WHCR.org across the globe. Check us out. Just might learn something. Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
This is Stu Reid, host of Community and Technology, airing every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. For 40 years, WHCR has been the voice of Harlem, providing you with news you can use, emergency preparedness information, and a diverse mix of talk and music shows. Our DJs and radio personalities are all volunteers who come out, rain, sleet, or snow, just like the mail carriers, to serve and keep you connected. I am personally asking you to give the WHCR because there's no other station like it. Telling it like it is, not beholden to any commercial or special interest group. Giving is easy and can be done in three ways. Our 40 for 40 campaign is asking each of you to donate $40. That's $1 for each year of WHCR being the voice of Harlem and beyond. Number one, you can give at WHCR.org online. Just click the donation tab. Two, send your check or money order to WHCR FM Radio, 160 Convent Avenue, NAC Building, room 1/513, New York, New York, 10031. Or three, if you want to donate now but the funds aren't yet available, just use our pledge line to call and make a pledge and pay later. Call 212-650-7526. That's 212-650-7526. Leave your name and number and someone will return your call. Remember to speak slowly and clearly. Thank you in advance for supporting WHCR, the voice of Harlem, and ensuring our voices are heard for the next 40 years and beyond.